So, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the July 2nd, 2025 Caroline County Transportation Committee meeting. And absent of the chair tonight, we elect the vice chair. I think we did. Look at you. Well,
This is your moment to shine.
yes, yeah, but our chair will not be here tonight. He got stuck in traffic in Tidewater, so he's won't make it.
Do you walk me through what you need me to do?
So if you just take us through the approval of minutes, and then I'll take it from there.
Let's see. So Lisa sent us the minutes from the April 2nd meeting. I trust everyone's had a chance to review those. I was not at the meeting, so I'll abstain from approval, but if anybody has a motion or a question about the
Motion
minutes?
that we adopt the minutes.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and all those against, like sign?
That was a motion by Alex Long, seconded by Ms. Golden.
Thank you.
I didn't pick up last time, since you're both for oil. You can't first and second, but that's what happened. Since you're both for Port Oil. Last meeting I was confused. You pointed out, same district, you can't first and second. Needs to have another person. Anyway, we did it right. But you taught me that at the last.
I did?
Yeah,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
you're really smart.
I think I just got sold on something.
Anyway, I learned from you all.
All right, so the next part of our agenda is updates, and we have an update on Transportation Alternative Program application.
Yes. So, Mr. Chair, if you wouldn't mind indulging me for 1 minute before we jump to that, I just wanted to introduce.
Don't promote me as vice chair.
Mr. Vice Chair. I just want to introduce for the committee and for the public, Mr. Steve Rollins, who's our representative from the Planning Commission. He is taking the place of Mr. George Weaver, who retired. And so I just wanted to welcome him tonight and want to introduce him to you all and the public. And so with that, and he's from the Mattapanai district. So thank you, sir. And I will move straight to the update on the TAP application. So you guys may recall, a few months ago, I had come to you guys and asked about applying or making an application for a TAP project. TAP is a transportation alternative program. And it's kind of designed to, for smaller projects that may not get funded through Smart Scale. It is a total award of $2.5 million with a 20% match for the county. And so you guys gave the blessing to submit a pre-application, which I did. And we got an estimate back from VDOT from the project before I get there, because that's I'll give you just a synopsis of what it is. So it was improvements at the intersection of Route 1 and Route 207, which is in this one right here. It included pedestrian accommodations for all four legs of the intersection. It included signal lights, pedestrian signal lights, and then it included a sidewalk along the north side of Route 207. I'm moving west to east now, and up to this point here, which is Welcome Way Drive. The Love's truck stop is right here. Exxon gas station is here. The post office is here. The Waffle House is here. And so what you see on the screen here is these little hatched areas, and I'm not sure how well it shows. It shows pretty good.
Is Love's on both sides of 95?
Yes.
Flying J, actually, that's
Flying
the Flying
J.
J.
That's the Flying
Flying
J.
J.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mhm.
And so these symbols here represent the sidewalk, and then the red represents what we. And so this was a part of a smart scale application, which included some turn lane improvements here, as well as some intersection improvements here at the intersection of Route 1 and 207. So that was the scope, or is the scope of the project. It's still, like I said, in as a pre-application. But we got an estimate back from VDOT, and the estimate came back at $9.4 million.
It was 11.
Yeah,
I don't know how it,
Does it
so
say,
there's a, yeah, on the portal, one says 11, and then I guess this estimate out of, and I can show it to you.
there's sidewalk on the south side all the way down too. I don't know if you mentioned it.
it's on both sides?
Yeah.
It's,
Leon, how much do they put for rights of way?
Got it right there, I think. Yeah. Oh, that's a middle part there, 1.5 million.
yeah.
Can Caroline County ask some of those landowners, and not that many landowners involved, but donate the rights of way because it helps the property, it helps the business, and if we could use that 1.5 mil as part of the Caroline County contribution.
Well, we're gonna get to that because, like I said, it's actually our contribution is a lot more than that. So we have to make up the difference. So when I said the total amount is 2.5 million is a total award, and so we would have to make up the difference between 2.5 million and the total cost estimate. Either, and I'll defer to you in your other capacity, is an $11 million estimate.
Yeah, the estimate I saw was 11 million. And I think VDOT would say that we shot that high, but even if you're just call it 10 million between the two, it's a big project. The total for the transportation alternatives is 3.125, which is 20% of that is 6.25, and then the 2.5 award. So you add those two together, 3.125. So that's what we would try to shoot for without having to contribute extra or find another source of funding, which there could be, maybe, I think we need to look at breaking the project up unless the county's got a lot of money I don't know about. I think we should look at trying to maybe phase the project to where we can get the price tag down and still do something meaningful. And so funding would be one constraint. The other would be within the project, transportation alternatives is alternatives to, and don't quote me, but alternatives to motor vehicles. So the turn lane in this project wouldn't qualify for transportation alternatives. It's sidewalk, it's trails, it's bicycles, it's those types of improvements. So I think we need to look hard and maybe have a conversation with VDOT about what would they see as a smaller scope that's still meaningful and still stands alone by itself and maybe fits a little better with a, maybe 3.1 or something less than 5 or, something to where you have a chance of the county being able to fund it.
And then we had a conversation today with Kathy and Rachel and Brian. And they were a little concerned about scaling down because they weren't sure about a logical termini.
Yeah.
If we did that. So that was their concern with that because they raised that as a possibility. They weren't sure, where it makes sense to kind of stop the project. So to kind of piggyback on Alex's comment about getting right away. So we do have a future application coming that's going to involve two of these projects. That is a rezoning. And so as a part of that process, we would certainly hope that an applicant would consider dedicating the right of way. And it's a substantial amount there. I mean, it would involve, a parcel here and a parcel here, which would give us a significant amount of right of way. And this is the only area really where we would really need to acquire right of way. There's, in this area, the project is in the right of way.
So we eliminated the sidewalk on the south side between the Flying J and altogether. Wow, and it's still 10 million.
And so, from my perspective, a project of this size, given other projects that we have coming up, we're going to be looking for funding for, is that we, try to save as much as we can.
I see your sketch. I'm sorry. You did eliminate the sidewalk on the south side?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Well, we not eliminated it, so. Because we've got some other projects that are going to require some significant money. And this project was originally a smart scale project that included the turn lanes as well as the pedestrian accommodations. It didn't score too badly in the round of smart scale. But one of the things I learned today was that the estimates for that project were probably too low.
Okay.
And so that probably helped it score a little bit better than it would have otherwise. The wash may end up being, which equals that out, if we get the dedication right away from the property owners, we'll take that right away cost out of the project.
Did you ask them to build a sidewalk and donate the right of way?
Well, we would hope that they would
Rezoning,
proffer.
you could.
We would hope that they would consider proffering.
Yeah, they needed a zip
So-
zoning.
Project I got with staff.
Yeah.
If you want your program, you build a side.
Well, we can't couch it in those terms.
No.
We can certainly, let the applicant know that this is a goal of the county and that this is something that we've been trying to fund and get accomplished. And, they may see their way to help participate and be a good citizen. And
Well, is multimodal transportation part of the comprehensive plan at this point?
it is.
So you can ask for proffers or ask them to consider proffers.
It has to be considered. Yes, yes.
Leon, is the project you're talking about, would it make the connection there between that private drive back up to Partnership Boulevard?
It will. It will. So they have committed to extending this road here up to Partnership. That's what they experienced. Right now, it ends right here, and they have indicated they will do this connection here.
Because to me, I mean, you could shorten up, you could do the intersection improvements, do the sidewalk up to there. And I would argue to anyone that that is a logical termini to end because you're connecting to a business park to two hotels where there would be pedestrian, traffic. It's not like you're stopping, at a property line somewhere in the middle of the grass. I mean, you're making the connection. And the project has to stop somewhere, right? I mean, whether it stops at the light at Flying J, I mean, there are no pedestrian improvements from that light to the east. So, I mean, it's the same situation. They got to figure it out. They got to stop somewhere and then figure it out from there. And if that smaller scale fits within a smaller budget, I mean, it's a logical termini for the scope of the project. I mean, otherwise we're going to chase a accessible path all the way to Bowling Green to find something we can connect to. I mean, there's just a reality that, somebody's got to accept when they consider logical termini in a rural area.
Could you consider the intersection in terms of reconfiguring it and improving the intersection a necessity to allow safe passage of pedestrians through that intersection?
Yeah, I think it's a great argument.
Pardon me?
I think that's a great argument. You just got to get somebody to agree with you.
Well, I don't know, not to make an argument, yes, but to me, it's a necessity. The vehicles, no one does a speed limit anymore. And sometimes it's difficult to gauge the speed of a vehicle and you're trying to cross.
Mhm.
pedestrian is, and it can be, it can have horrendous consequences if they judge wrong.
That's a huge patch of pavement to walk across.
Yeah.
With all the turn lanes and everything.
So I guess probably the question is truly how to reconfigure that intersection in a way that could be improved for pedestrian access.
So it's the Luckstone project, is that's on that same connecting road coming to the intersection, is that right?
It is.
So that would attribute to some traffic and stuff there too, right?
Yes.
And the other, but that looks more important than perhaps the sidewalk, which if that's going to be rezoned. And you know what's it going to be?
Office project.
Office. People building office.
Well, there's a user.
Pardon me?
There's a user.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, they'll have, that has a higher concentration of people, so it should build it. So, and if you only ask them to build it on Rogers Clark as opposed to Route 1, they should shake your hand and say thank you.
Yeah, along their frontage. Along their frontage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would hope they would consider all the way around.
All the way around?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we need to think about the other end. If you got a user coming there with a significant number of people, you know, are they going to be, we're not connecting to the commuter lot with this project. We're getting to the other side of Route 1, but the pedestrian improvements don't connect to the commuter lot. So maybe we need to think about leave the intersection alone. If people aren't crossing the intersection, maybe we just need to get them from that office building, you know, back to Lion J, or, you know, where they could eat, or the post office, or maybe you do you cross 207 and go to the post office. Does that make sense? Or people need to, you know, that's a logical termini that people need to go to the post office, or maybe they need to go west on 207 and we could stop it at that private drive on the other end, and then when this project comes in, they could link it up, you know, back to Route 1.
And right now, that would be where we have existing right of way. So the cost will drop right there.
But you still got to get past that logical termini argument with VDOT or with transportation alternatives.
Yeah, well, right now, most of the walking traffic, as I understand it, is coming from the hotels going to Flying J and Waffle House and things like that. So if you go from that access road you were talking about and go east to the terminus point, you're serving the walking public that's there now.
And then the crossing.
And then when the office park comes in, either they'll build the sidewalk, or then we'll have to face the issue of getting it built because the pedestrians will be there.
Do you think the commuter lot
It's a good idea.
and getting to that side of Route 1 was a big part of the project that was instrumental in getting it, would be instrumental in getting it approved?
I don't think it's more the restaurant and the laundromat down on the south side.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a lot of
Because you saw a lot of foot traffic from the hotel crossing in the median to get over to the
yeah,
next to the restaurant. And
yeah, to the-
laundromat.
Well, you could probably build the sidewalk on the south side cheaper than you can do all the signal improvements.
But wouldn't we still need the signals on this side and up here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the signal improvements on Route 1 are going to be fairly expensive, less so at the Flying J, but you still got to make them. And you only have one crossing, so you could go, I mean, nobody would do it probably, but you could make a U back from Partnership Boulevard connection to Flying J entrance back to the Mexican restaurant. And then physically they could make the connection, but, you know, it'd be longer to walk.
But we'll say the one good news is that the arms at that intersection were just replaced. I think what impacted the cost of right away up there is the fact that the sidewalk behind the arm on this leg here, and would require some right away. Right in there. It's the way they kind of configure that design of that leg of sidewalk. But I like any number of those ideas.
In your conversation today with VDOT, did they feel like the Flying J ending the project there was a logical terminal?
Yeah, I think that's, when we were talking about the project originally, I think they were satisfied with Flying J, Welcome Way intersection and the Route 1 intersection.
So the Welcome Way Road goes by the post office, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Flying J is further up the road.
Well,
Flying J's bottom right-hand corner.
yeah, bottom right, yeah.
Oh, fine. Oh, gotcha.
So it sounds like the idea is to have the crossing at the Flying J over to Welcome Center Way, take the sidewalk down to, is it Prospect? With the
Partnership Boulevard.
partnership, and then see if that is a logical termini and just see what the cost is of that, right?
Yeah. Or,
And then leave everything west of that for another day.
the other thing is if you just did build the sidewalk on the south side from the Mexican restaurant down to Flying J, make the connection across 207 and build a sidewalk down to the post office if you can make it work. And just have that. And then people can walk across those lots, the parking lots or whatever on the
There's
north
pavement
side.
there,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, there's pavement there. There's a paved shoulder as well. Until such time we could, put another application in to complete
Yeah.
the rest of it.
And they're using the median crossover as a sort of pedestrian
Yeah.
refuge now anyway.
Yeah, I think
They're
it
not
works.
probably going to walk all the way to Route 1
Right.
and go down. They're still going to cut across where that median crossover is. Do that diagonal turn that Leon observed several people doing.
And the amount of money in the grant is a max of what, 2.5?
Yeah. We've really got to cut
Yeah,
the
with the
scope.
with the you can get 2.5 is what they'll give you if you match 20%, which is 625. So the total of the project has to be 3.125. No more.
That's our ceiling.
And so at 3 million, Caroline County needs to put 500,000 cash in it.
At 3 million, it's 20% of the total.
So it'd be 600,000.
Yeah, and then your award would only be 2.4. But the max award is 2.5, so you can go to 3.125. 20% of that is $625,000.
I see where you're at. I got you.
625
I got
plus
you.
2.5 is
Understood.
3.1.
Understood. Somebody might want to go knock on the door of the county administrator and ask how much cash Caroline County has available. Otherwise, you're just going to do a lot of work and go, oh, shucks.
Yeah, I think we need to get it as close as we can to 3.125 and hope the county can come up with 6.25.
That's the magic number.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the real question. I think if we get it under $1 million, the county match, I think we have a much better opportunity for the board to consider that. But I think anything above,
And again, they're arguing about whether to build schools or buy trailers to put up the existing schools right now. But eventually, they're going to have to start building schools.
possibly, yeah.
Well, that's what the school board says.
Well, we'll see. I mean, there's a lot of residential development is happening, and so we'll just have to see if how that plays out in terms of young persons in those new homes. The amazing thing about Caroline is our persons per household has not changed drastically in the last 10 years. We're still at about 2.6 persons per household. Another factor is, decline in the birth rate. We have a bubble in the schools right
Well,
now.
all I hear is coming home and muttering about the school board building new schools.
Well, I don't think there's any question right now. There is a capacity issue right now. The question is not the issue right now. But the question is what happens in 10 years from now.
But you want your 600,000 when? Next year, 2 years from now?
Well, this is a 4-year window, I think it is. Got to be done in 4 years.
Yeah, but it's 4 years from when it gets approved.
Right.
So you just made a pre-app. It wouldn't get approved until January of 26 for fiscal year of 27, right? So then it's 31 and 32. So you don't need your money for a while.
Well, that's a good point. They could actually bank maybe 150 a year for 4 years,
Yeah.
provided inflation doesn't. kick
Well,
too
that's the other issue is
Well, our estimate has to account for inflation.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it would be
I think
It
this
would
one
be
had
27 or 31 and $32. But there is a possibility that if the county had their money ready, VDOT could advance the funding, to get the project done sooner.
So our latest idea for the bang for the buck is sidewalk along the south side from the parking lots there, or from 1 to Flying J, the crossing over to Welcome Center Way or Welcome Way, and see what that number is.
Yeah, I think
Stop
so.
that, yeah.
Just see what it is.
Yeah, I think there's,
But I think any of the scenarios we talked about are better than what's there now.
yes.
So
absolutely.
anything we can get VDOT to say, yeah, okay, that makes
And
sense,
to get it down. to
and get
this
it down into
magic
that
number.
$3 million range.
Yeah, I think there would be, the restaurant and the laundromat. The truckers can spend the night and take showers at the Flying J, but I think there'd be good. That's a good safety thing along that south side. Makes a lot of sense. And then you're absolutely right, David. On the north side, there's parking. There's pavement. There's asphalt.
Mhm.
You want to walk. And then I think the hotel people are still going to use that median as a
Right.
and cross there, and there's good visibility on that side. The kind of woods and you might even see a pathway along that south side. But the little Mexican restaurant and the laundromat.
If you can parse out we could try for smart scale again for the right turn lane and the signal improvements without the sidewalk.
Right.
And that would be a lesser cost. I mean, there are other programs that we can try for the other pieces with, but the sidewalk is what, transportation alternatives. would
Yeah, it's a
do.
pure TAP project.
We just have to pass.
You're talking about putting the sidewalk again on the south side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
I would condition that on those landowners donating the rights of way. If they don't do the rights of way, I'm against the project.
Does it benefit
They give
their
the rights of way, I'm for the project.
It benefits their land.
Yeah.
I appreciate the sentiment, but I've tried to get donations before and it never goes well.
Well, no project.
Mm-hmm.
But not going to pay anybody $1.5 million to improve their own project.
Yeah, I mean, to get donations now, we still have to do an appraisal, tell them what the value is, tell them we're supposed to pay them.
Yeah, they're entitled to
They're
compensation.
entitled to
Offer
be
them the
paid.
opportunity for
Tell them what it
appraisal.
is,
Yeah,
and then you ask them not to take it.
right.
Basically, what you're.
So
asking.
it's
They
sort
can
of
write it
tax-
off though, right?
It's taxed.
It's a
That's
donation.
true, it is a business
It's a
expense.
donation.
Yeah. But if it has to be purchased, then that makes the project not viable.
Well, let's wait and see what the numbers are. If it was 2 million before, up on the developed commercial area, it may come in less just naturally.
And VDOT may say no. It
Yeah.
may say, hey, that's the whole thing, or it's not logical term or not, whatever. I don't know.
But if I own that property, I'd sign the paper now.
So there,
You?
Pat yourself
Is there a
on the
user in the old bank headquarters building now?
that's where their zoning case is. So
That's
that's
for all that?
Oh,
What's it for?
an office on all that in the old First Union Bank building.
I thought it was the vacant parcel on the 207-1 corner.
Well, it's all of it.
Oh, so they
Wow.
build new buildings and occupy the other thing?
They're gonna occupy that building and build some additional, make some additional uses on those parcels.
Okay.
Great.
well,
Because to me, that if all that's happening, it kind of creates to me, that in itself creates a logical term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said, you know, commission is zoning, hopefully the applicant will commit to this and this to here and
Yeah.
doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's why this makes a lot of sense to me as well. My only concern about this is just the right of way costs associated with that much. And then my next question was, would they want us to do something here because we were bringing the side
Right.
right.
They might make you.
here and still want to include, you know,
I mean, it could, but you got to stop the project somewhere, right?
right.
So right now, there are no improvements to get across Route 1. And when the project's done, there'll be no improvements to get across Route 1, but you could get to services. You know, you can get to a restaurant, you can get to a laundromat.
But you could put some lights and push a button and have a flashing light. How much are those?
A mid-block crossing? Mid-block or at the signal?
No, it was at the signal.
Yeah, I mean, to put pedestrian improvements at the signal, I guess I don't know if they're rebuilding the entire signal or what, but it's going to be expensive.
But I think that's what they mentioned today is that the existing mass arms don't have to be replaced.
Oh,
Okay.
can you put a sidewalk in a permanent easement instead of right of way?
I don't believe so. I think
I
VDOT wants
think-
sidewalks
I
in
think
right
you
of way.
can. I think
Well,
a
we
permanent
can-
easement.
But yeah, whose maintenance is it?
It'd be a permanent easement to VDOT. It
Oh.
just wouldn't be fee right of way.
Ah, okay.
That has been done. Because when we do the Hudson Fills, we'll do a permanent slope easement. Keep the right of way, along the edge of the curb and gutter, and then do a permanent easement up to the top of the fills and the cuts.
Yeah, but a permanent sidewalk easement is going to get 80%
It
value at
will.
least.
It
Yeah.
will. But it's a savings.
I forgot my cell phone. Let me go out.
We need that.
So is that one owner to that big parcel of land there by Flank? Is that one owner? Or
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Is that still the Martin property?
No, it's owned by Carmel Church LLC, I think. And we recently had an inquiry about a project on that property.
Pretty parcel.
Yeah.
Good frontage.
I did a
So I think eventually there'll be development on that piece that will require the installation of sidewalk
Yeah.
with improvement. And then, if we get commitment to that improvement along Route 1 on the north side, we've got, that's why I like that portion from Welcome Way down to the edge of Prospect. But then that will leave us a gap here. And that's the Moose Lodge.
they'll probably donate.
Prospects on that
Oh,
being redeveloped.
They'll probably donate the meat.
yeah, I forgot that. was
Yeah. So that makes consolidating those 4 parcels right there. It's a pretty attractive corner lot.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got one of our major gas and convenience stores just broke ground, which usually no one follows. So
Mhm.
I don't know if they'd be willing to take all of that. They may or may not, given that's it. So the other question I have is,
So we just need to keep working this thing with VDOT, try to parse it down to something that makes sense, that there's a lesser
Yeah.
budget.
well, and my concern now is, so I've got a pre-app submitted. I'm gonna have to go back to them and ask for an amendment to that pre-app. I don't know how amenable they're gonna be to doing that. To reduce the scope. of the
Basically, you
project.
value, and you didn't have the cost until the pre-app deadline was days away. So you basically value engineered it down to, I mean, 11 million, it's not viable. So, yeah, you'd have to go with your hat in your hand and say, we value engineered it. I would hope the system would be forgiving in that regard and not say, oh, tough. Tough.
You're gonna have to redo an estimate, but it's, all the quantities are already, I mean, you're gonna just subtract some stuff out. You're gonna subtract out some signal improvements, a turn lane, and some linear footage of sidewalk, reduce the number of parcels. I don't think we're asking for a new project. It's just scale it down.
All right, so which segment of this project do we want to do? We want to ask.
I'll try a motion. I move that we value engineer the project to the sidewalk from Route 1 to the entrance of the Flying J and the crossing from Flying J over to Welcome Way
Which side of the road?
on the south side of the road. And that when they do the cost estimate, they let us know the acquisition cost of the estimate across that large parcel, and that a volunteer could look up the owner. I volunteer to look up the owner on the tax records and meet him and give him a call. See if they would be willing to donate the right of way to the sidewalk.
If the maker of the motion, before we get into seconding it, he would amend that it's contingent upon the owner of that property donating the rights of way.
On that one property or all properties? along the
Well,
south side?
that one property, what's the other vacant property?
The moose is it?
Yeah, there's the restaurant property and the Moose Lodge.
I'll be easy on you, that at least 75% of the rights of way for the sidewalk are dedicated. That's no cost.
Okay.
Not the argumentative balance, but when you say 75%, is that 75% of the value, the area involved, or the 4 parcels?
I like that, that's detail. I'd say,
Yeah,
of the value.
I just interject. Can we just look at the big picture and not get caught up on all these details? Because VDOT is going to include the values 100% of these estimates, because the owners can change
Right.
4 or 5 years from now, and commitments that are made today will be different. And they're going to make sure that the money is committed in the project to complete the project at 100%. So I think our role is more, do we want the project or we don't want the project? And just leave it at that.
Well, it's deeper than that. If the sidewalk's going to benefit those property owners, they need to donate the rights of way. And that's where it is with me. If they don't donate, don't do the project.
And like the smart scale project that's going on in Bowling Green has sidewalk all over it, and there are no commitments for donations on any of it.
And what?
the project that's going on in Bowling Green, there's sidewalks all over it and there are no commitments for donations.
Well, this
So-
is different.
It's a different project. I didn't do the one in Bowling Green.
And the one, like, I think we're being short-sighted if we put that caveat on a recommendation.
Yeah, and the other-
It's a public improvement. It'll benefit the general public. Does it also benefit that parcel? Yes, but every transportation project benefits the parcel that it's in front of.
It benefits that project more than property over there or over there.
I guess, there's nothing there now, so why is it such a huge benefit for them?
Or me?
There's nothing on that parcel now, so why is it such a huge benefit to it?
Because eventually they want to put something there. It's a sidewalk
It
that
saves them the cost of building it in the future.
having that planner shaken out of them.
Makes it more valuable, improves the value.
It does.
I would say,
Well, the other thing I would say to that too is this.
Hmm?
The other thing I would say is, depending on what might go there, they may end up having to take it out to develop the site.
Pardon me?
Mhm.
But they might.
They might have to take it out to develop the site. They may have to tear it up
Whole
and
site.
rebuild.
Just a chunk.
And we were supportive of the project as a smart scale application without any caveats. So why wouldn't we be supportive of the project as a transportation alternatives program project without any caveats?
I'm not sure this group
Yeah.
did on the smart school project.
It was on our docket and it didn't get funded.
I will say that if VDOT won't let us make that change to our pre-app, to me, based on what we submitted, the next logical thing would be to go ahead and do it from, was it Prosperity there, or Prospect, whatever it is, over to Welcome Way.
Do both sides?
No, just the north side from Prosperity there over to Welcome Way, where the right-of-way already exists.
Oh, because right now our pre-app does not have the south sidewalk and all.
Exactly. So if VDOT looks at that and says, no, you've changed the scope beyond your pre-app,
Okay.
I think we ought to have a plan B to be ready to try and get them to give us another estimate and agree that we can make that change.
And that'll definitely be inexpensive.
I would think.
That's, looks like it's a bird in hand.
Yeah.
Have you accomplished, well, and in addition to the crossing from Flying J over,
Yes.
that makes sense, okay. And so that way, safely, Flying J truck driver could cross over, go along the new sidewalk and then cross
Be a
the
lot
median.
closer, yeah.
Cross the median to get the Mexican.
Yeah,
restaurant.
yeah.
So you want to start anew with your motion?
Yes, it's a new motion. I move that the project, that way it gets us off the whole rigmarole.
Yeah, yeah.
The field. That we seek value engineering to our pre-app to be the crossing from Flying J over to Welcome Way and the sidewalk down to Prospect Way. The name of the road there, Prospect.
Partnership Boulevard?
There you go.
Partnership Boulevard.
There it is.
I'm gonna write it down.
We keep calling it everything else.
Yeah. And that be the motion.
Okay. Could I offer an amendment?
You
to the
sure
motion? That you just maybe caveat that subject to whatever we could get VDOT to approve. Like if they're going to get hung up on this logical term, I think. And if they have a different opinion on what's logical and could come up with some other configuration that makes sense that they would approve, if they wouldn't approve that, could we still be supportive of that?
No, because I don't want to go to Route 1. I don't want that right of way across there. And so maker of the motion is going to stand her ground. And that to me looks like a nice $2 million total.
Actually, what you could do is after someone seconds the motion, we have discussion, and then you can offer your amendment to the motion, and then we vote on
Okay.
it, if you want to push it.
So where are we at? Is from partnership to welcome and then welcome to Flying J?
Yeah,
And that's it? We're not going to the post office?
right, right.
Okay,
We're
so
not
just-
going to the post office now.
It's just the L.
Nobody walks to the post office.
So you saying your caveat was if the State Department was to look at it and come up with an alternative, so are you saying to do the complete sidewalk all the way down?
I'm saying if there's some configuration that they would approve that they feel like would fit, let's still go after it, is what I'm saying. If it's not, Becky's is logical to me, and I'm supportive of any configuration we could get it, because I think we're gonna have to piecemeal this thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
And I don't want to have an open-ended wherever VDOT thinks
Well,
it's
I
a
mean-
logic terminal. I think that's.
Our
dangerous.
action is just directing Leon to go to VDOT with this change. I don't think we're setting granted as this is the only one we're going to do the project.
Yeah.
If VDOT says, no, we think you should have a termini here and here,
Yeah.
Leon can certainly report back and I'm more than happy to take a look at anything VDOT suggests.
Yeah, I don't want to give them carte blanche.
Well, this is just to frame the argument, if you will, or the proposal, and VDOT's going to probably fine tune it to something much better.
I don't want to pigeonhole Leon into this is all we want. If we can't
Oh, no.
get it, forget it. I would like for him to have a discussion with VDOT about the whole thing and any way they could see their way through two logical points that aren't the entire project that would somewhere near $3 million. I'd like to figure that
I
out.
agree with that, but I think for that purpose, this is our preferred route. But like you said, if VDOT can come up with something within our budget with different termini, I'm more than happy to
What
look
does
at it.
Leon think of all this?
I like the ability to have the flexibility. And it's always good, and I also like that portion of the project that I have a crystal ball, but I think that something's going to happen on this parcel eventually. We're going to get it there,
Oh, yeah.
and then I think hopefully we can get something at minimum right of way on the extending it, down to Route 1. And I think a logical termini is the hotel there. So I'm kind of agree with David. I don't know. It's got to stop somewhere. So why not right there at the hotel? That seems logical. Does that make sense from the VDOT perspective that when I say that it could stop here? Was
I
that?
don't know that I can fully convey the VDOT perspective.
Well, I'm just saying. Yeah.
I don't know that they'll agree that's a logical term.
Right.
I don't know how that decision is made.
Yeah.
I'm just afraid if you go all the way to 1, they're going to want you to have the
Whole
ramps and
Yeah.
the push button. They're not going to just let the sidewalk stop at 1. They're going to say, look, you've got to then do the whole ADA and the requirements now for the pedestrian crossing are really intense. If you drive through Thornburg on 1, you'll see that it's now required for audible impaired people to have a button for going across one way, and then 4 feet away have another button for that other direction. You know how you gotta go this way and that way. That way, a hearing impaired person can hear the audible. He'll know the difference between the two posts. So then the ramp is really intense. You can't just put them out now to the middle of the intersection. So those to make that ADA compliant. So basically, the idea would not be to have the sidewalk touch Route 1 at all. Otherwise, they're compelled by law really to upgrade that whole signal and infrastructure to accommodate safely the new requirements for audible and visual impaired. So which that will add cost. The crossing there at the Flying J will be really nice, only having that one way there. And that'll be an expense. Fortunately, there's an existing signal there, but it's an impressive footprint of signal that addresses both hearing and visually impaired.
I will say one thing about this intersection is, maybe we can pull it. I think there's a culvert right here. I think there's a significant culvert.
In the median, a depressed median.
Yeah.
So they may have to sort of pipe that and bridge it to have a physical crossing. And that'd be a pretty expensive crossing, but
It looks like there's room to cross maybe. But they can figure that out.
good discussion, y'all.
All right, so we have a motion on the table. Did we ever get a second?
Not yet.
Did we have a second?
Why don't you restate the motion?
The motion was to ask Leon to work with VDOT on a project that goes from Partnership Boulevard on the north side of 207 to Welcome Way, and then crosses Welcome Way to the Flying J.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
That's it? Is that the motion
That's
you
the
made?
motion.
Okay, so Becky Golden made that motion, and I will second the motion, and now you have discussion.
All right, so seconded by Jim Long. Any further discussion?
Beat it to death.
I just had one question. So the right of way, there's no cost for the right of way on the section that we're proposing. Is
Right.
that correct?
It's already in hand.
I think the right of way is already there.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Motion carried unanimously.
Motion carried.
Congratulations.
All right, so back to our agenda. You got anything else on that?
No, I don't.
All right, new business, Carmel Church Transportation Report.
So at the last board meeting, Carrie Eves with the George Washington Regional Commission did a presentation on the Carmel Church Transportation Report plan. And I thought I'd like to show you all her presentation that she did to the board. So one, you get the benefit of her presentation, but you also get the benefit of hearing the board's questions on that about the plan and the Carmel Church area. So it's about a 20-minute presentation. So take us right to
Witching hour. Yeah.
So
Okay, let's go.
if you guys are willing, then we'll do that.
Okay. Since
Chief's Transportation Program Manager with GWRC. I have Lita Hinkle here with me. She is our GIS analyst, and she worked with the maps on this program. This is the Carmel Church Transportation Report we did as part of the FY24 work program. It took us a little while to wrap it up. And I want to start out with letting you know that the recommendations in this plan are not meant to be carried out all at once. This is a long-range plan. Some of the recommendations are perhaps for the next 6 years or so, and some of them aren't going to make sense for 20 years or more as Carmel Church area grows and develops. Next slide. So the report covers the existing conditions in Carmel Church, the land use and demographics, the commuting characteristics, how folks are getting to work, the facilities available to them. There are a lot of trucks in that area, so we covered freight statistics and the services available, ongoing development, and also the transportation challenges, the freight needs, pedestrian safety needs, and commuter needs. And then after we cover all of that, we go into recommendations and suggestions for further study. Cover all the previous planning that has been done for that area, the safety facilities and recommendations, truck parking, and potential commuter improvements that you might want to consider. So I'm going to let Lita here talk about the great map that she did.
Thanks, Carrie. So the maps on this presentation don't really correspond exactly with what else is on the slide, but just give you an idea. Yeah. Go back a slide. Oh yeah, so that is trip volume. So how many people on an average weekday are leaving that area of Caroline County and going to visit Fredericksburg or Stafford. So just to capture kind of regional travel patterns when we were looking at the study area.
So the map is basically telling you that most of the folks in Caroline County who are going to Fredericksburg and Stafford are coming from that Carmel Church area. Say for audio visual challenges. Do y'all have any questions about that map? Just letting you know that a lot of people from Carmel Church are traveling to Fredericksburg and Stafford. Now that either means that their trips are ending there or they're taking the VRE and going somewhere. Okay, we'll go on. All right, so for existing conditions, we talk about the population distribution. You'll see that in that map that Lita will be talking to you about in a moment. The median age and income, industrial and commercial development areas. These are your employment generators. Commuting characteristics, how long it takes folks to get to work, how we get there, their destinations within the region, and then the truck volume that's going through Carmel Church, and what the parking inventory and needs are. Now I'm going to explain the bottom left map that's pretty confusing and it's from a couple years ago. This map is showing the county of origin within Virginia for all the trucks that are going through Caroline County. So most of the trucks that are coming through here are starting in counties along I-95. And then it just sort of, as you might expect, becomes fewer and fewer trucks as you get farther away east and west. And those are the numbers there in the legend. Do you have any questions about that map before we go to the next one? Oh, yeah, Alita will tell you about the right map.
Before we get to the right map,
Yeah.
You're saying the map on the left, these are trucks that go through the county, they stop in the county, they buy gas in the county?
Yeah, these are trucks that are passing through Caroline County. So it's just showing you volume of trucks that pass through the county and where they're coming from.
So they don't necessarily stop, they could be on 95 going through the county.
They can be on.
You have the same route.
I need to look at that in the text, but I think it's just anywhere in Caroline County. Mm-hmm. That was from the rural LRTP, by the way, that previous document. How do they know? Would you like to talk about that?
All right, I believe this map, while I did not create it, was developed using Streetlight, which it is a service essentially, or it's a software that takes big data collected from connected vehicle data and even cell phone data, and it will validate it with VDOT's records and other actual counts, but it takes this big data and puts it into, so you can like kind of query an analysis of different travel patterns. And that it also includes, they have weight filters, so you can specifically capture the volumes of like freight traffic that's moving through an area.
It's a program that we get through VDOT, and you can narrow it down for large trucks, medium-sized trucks, and regular traffic. It also does work for pedestrians and bicycles too. It's a pretty great tool. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Streetlight was also, I used that on analysis for a few maps in this report, including the previous map that was talking about traffic volume from Caroline County into Fredericksburg and Stafford. It's a tool that I use a lot for just capturing, travel patterns. Yeah, they do validate with VDOT and have the white pages. I personally haven't observed too much of Caroline County myself, but feel like it gives, at least across Streetlight analysis, a good point of comparison.
Yeah, a lot of those trucks use, what goes to the weigh station so they can turn. Depending on how much you carry. Basically. Yeah. Yeah, and we need something that says what the real impact is. Because if you're just riding through, there's no impact except for changing the road. But if you're stopping and getting gas, there's an impact. So, I guess Streetlight has that kind of information.
Yeah, it would probably be able to identify like trucks that are stopping within Caroline County, or even like originating from Caroline County and then moving out of the region.
And for validation, the state has all kinds of databases through what they call VTrans Interact, and they have a map of all kinds of databases on the same kind of information. So we have lots of ways to calibrate it.
So you can get those couple of figures for these gentlemen in the future.
We can dig deeper into this if you would like. In fact, later on in this presentation, I talk about how this is just skimming the surface and starting to find out what questions to ask. We could do a whole freight report in the future. We want to put that on the rural work program for a future year.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You want to talk about your population distribution?
So this map on the right is just of the outline. There is the Carmel Church study area that we were looking at, and it maps population density in that area and kind of in the surrounding areas around it. The geography are traffic analysis zones, which were generated as a part of FAMPO's actually travel demand model, collaborating with county or locality staff.
Okay, so in addition to what's here, we talk about what's happening, what's going to be coming in the future. These are the planned and proposed developments in the Carmel Church growth area. As we know, it's becoming the employment center for the county. There's the new zoning type called Planned Innovation Research and Technology Districts. And there's also warehouse and distribution expansion. And there's also up there in that little yellow area, the Belmont residential expansion that has been approved. And these things are all coming online. And because of this, Carmel Church is growing and is going to have different kinds of challenges going forward for the next 25 years. Any questions about that, Matt? You want Lita to answer? Okay. So lots of different transportation challenges all in one area. You got your freight needs, truck parking, road improvements. Mr. Underwood was talking about that with, freight is heavy. They're tough on the roads. We got roads like Dry Bridge that you all are quite aware need to be improved. There's an assessment of the current services that needs to be done for trucks. You've got pedestrian safety needs, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. And then you got commuter needs. Do you need to do a bus system, van pool, rail options? Do you need to maybe do something with the park and ride lot? Is that serving them well? All sorts of things to consider. And this fun little thing up here is just a vague idea of what a redesigned 207 might look like, with a pedestrian refuge median in the middle, more lighting and sidewalks. Next slide. So for freight needs. So this is, in regards to Mr. Thomas's question, approximately 15,000 trucks pass directly through Carmel Church, not on I-95, weekly on Route 207 and on the ramps. So this is not them just going on the interstate. This is just directly through the town. And that's a lot of trucks. It is also ranked 2 out of 10 hotspots for additional parking needs. And this is the Virginia truck parking study. This is not from us. Currently short at least 200 spaces for trucks. And much of the current pedestrian activity that we found is tied to this rate. Truck drivers are crossing the road from truck parking to the hotels and restaurants that they want to go to. And again, local roads need improvements to accommodate all of these heavy trucks and the high truck volumes as this industry is going. All that development that was on the previous map is going to bring more trucks onto these roads. And that map, you can talk about that map.
Yeah, so like I said, I use Streetlight for a lot of analysis on this plan, including this map. And it's just showing how many, I think with the heavy and medium duty weight filters, how much traffic is coming off at the exits at Carmel Church from 95 and getting back on.
Any questions? That is not based on that map. That's based on different independent data.
I would say on the map, it would be double counted. It's just counting like the sections that are in red, how many trucks are coming off, sections in yellow, how many are going back on. So yes. And yeah.
So in recommendations for improvement and further study, we cover the previous planning that's been done, including the former comprehensive plan. I know we're going over the new one right now. And a Carmel Church community plan that was done in 2007, VDOT studies, and then county and GWRC studies from the past. We recommend safety facilities for pedestrians, road improvements for freight and truck parking, and then potential commuter improvements. And this is a particularly interesting map. Do you want to talk about this one?
When you say road improvements, can you expound on that a little bit? What specific improvements or what type of improvements are you referring to?
So
I have some ideas, but.
So in this specific report, we don't get specific on the roads because some of the roads, like Dry Bridge, need their own report, like the one done by Dewberry. And that's its own report. Some of the roads are things that we can develop projects for to submit for Smart Scale or something like that. But a lot of them are things you can talk to Kyle about, like these, like shoulder hardening and that sort of thing. It's not something we can cover in a report like this. It's something that we have to tackle separately. But in going over, looking at them, it depends on the road.
I'm thinking about 95 people would leave it from the church, actually.
Yes.
That
That
would be a smart scale.
might be a little big for smart scale, but it depends. It depends on what we're thinking about doing with it.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Mhm.
And I can just give a quick explanation for this map. So this, I believe in the 2007 Carmel Church Community Plan, identified Carmel Church as a location for a potential future rail station. And this map was analyzing how many people would be in the service area for that station. And so you can see the colors differentiate the time shed for driving to the station, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And then the population in that circle in the legend is cumulative. So the population in the deep red includes the population that's in the yellow as well. It's just the total population. Thanks. So that number is what, 22,119 total people live within 22 minutes of a potential rail station in that location. All right, so pedestrian safety facilities focused on the core area where needed, based on streetlight pedestrian safety and pedestrian activity data. And this is supporting safety, economic development, and community cohesiveness. These are short and long-term recommendations. They are not all for now. One of the things missing from this map is the state priority numbers. The area where the largest pedestrian activity was found, where that orange dot is, also happens to be a state priority segment, which is a good thing if you want to do anything in that area. And that would be one of our shorter term recommendations for crosswalk and crossing improvements. There's already a signalized intersection there. So that would be one we'd recommend to be for the shorter term. Some of the other ones here are much longer term improvements.
Well, where's Taco Bell?
Oh yeah, well,
It's the bottom one.
Well, 3, correct?
yeah. So do you see there's a little bit of sidewalk extending just a little bit down there on the south side? Yeah, it's the Taco Bell.
Just making sure.
We don't want you getting run over on the way to Taco Bell.
Taco Bell is not at the light in front of the visitor center. That 308 is the visitor center.
No, it's a little up north from there.
Diagonally across from the.
Trust me, we looked it up on Google.
Oh, you looked up on Google?
We got it, and
What
we've
about
been there.
people that actually go there?
No, we checked it out. We did we did all the things.
Doesn't matter, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
That's my bird.
What questions do you have about
Never the
this
time.
map?
Where's the Taco Bell? I have Google Maps.
We have also been there. We do all the things.
The visitor center's there too, Mr. Thomas.
The visitor center is on the corner. Taco Bell is on a different corner. Okay.
But thank you, to take us off this map.
Okay, all right. Stay there as long as you need to.
Nope.
All right, so as far as commuter improvements, we've got short and long-term choices to consider as Carmel Church grows over the next 20, 25 years. Bus or rail, which one? Which way do you want to go? Where to site a possible station? Expanded carpool and vanpool opportunities, park and ride sites, moving the current site to a more visible or convenient location. Planning a compact, more walkable town to facilitate future bus or rail service. And if Caroline County in the future decides to pursue a future rail station, staff analyzed, as you see in the previous map, potential ridership and compared to potential locations. So similar analysis could be conducted for a VRE connected bus station as part of a future rural work program. And this is the same sort of thing. Go ahead.
Ladies, before you leave that, serious question. A few years ago, the county decided to stop funding FRED. And Fred would probably be a good connection point for these sort of things to get to BRE. How difficult do you think it would be to reinstate Fred and Caroline after we haven't been doing anything for 4 or 5 years?
My answer is that you would have to talk to Fred about that, probably. Because this, this is one of the things you would have to negotiate with Fred.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure of that. I just thought you had some experience with working with Fred and TWRC that kind of.
Well, we don't directly work with them. We do some analysis for them sometimes, but we don't directly work with them. And I think it's a matter of just getting together with them and negotiating and figuring out the financial part of things. There's also microtransit to consider, which sometimes works better in dispersed rural communities instead of a fixed route, where you might have like one person riding the bus. It's all sorts of different things you might consider. So you want to talk to people.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Only, can you hear me better?
Yeah.
Only the areas inside of Caroline County are highlighted. However, the station is just a couple minutes from Hanover.
Mm-hmm.
Was that area part of those numbers?
Oh, not part of the number.
Yeah, so the analysis does extend outside of the county boundary. For the report, I just clipped it since we were focused on Caroline County. But somewhere I should probably have the population for that too, and it is a significant expansion of the service area.
That's
Not include anything we put from the map. Does that make sense? The numbers do not include anything clipped visually from the map. So the numbers do not include Hanover. On the previous map, you were talking about the numbers. Yeah, Hanover was not included. It's just Caroline. Mm-hmm. Right. If we were to include Hanover, it would be much less.
fine. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take this moment to go on record as saying, as far as rail goes, that they can't put a rail on the already existing tracks, but I'm not interested. My first year, there was that thing about going through and winding, taking out houses. Not interested in that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Our job is just to present all of the information, not to make any decisions.
I know that you know the people to talk to. Yeah, I know.
Yes, ma'am. All right, so next steps. We're providing the data and analysis for the people and the traffic and the employment centers for Carmel Church to describe the current conditions and identify the emerging transportation trends, summarize the existing planning efforts, and offer our preliminary recommendations. So mostly what we focused on here was pedestrian recommendations within the core area, and those would support any project applications that you are going to put in the future. This will assist you with where to begin more targeted studies and planning solutions for Carmel Church's success as a small town and the economic center for Caroline County. Let us know if you have any more questions.
Any questions? Thank you, ladies, very much.
Did you have
Appreciate it.
one more thing to ask of you?
Yes.
We would like to open the 30-day comment period for this document, if you all are amenable to that.
Yeah, if anybody wants to send a comment, please send it to you.
Yeah, it's just our policy to have a 30-day comment period for anything that we produce. Just want to let you guys know.
Do you mean a public hearing for a 30-day comment or 30 days?
So what will happen is we'll open the public comment period and then we'll bring it back to you after 30 days for your approval, if your approval or approval. And at that point, folks can come up and speak about it if they wish.
Okay, so people who are interested in making comments have 30 days to contact you and make comments, and then we'll discuss where we go from there.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Do you
you.
need a resolution or vote from us, or just an announcement?
Exactly. after the comment period. Much appreciated.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Um,
All right. So I wanted you guys to see that so you have some understanding, one, what GWRC is doing, and two, the focus on Carmel Church. There's a lot of information, I think, that speaks to what we talked about earlier tonight in terms of TAP application, the need for pedestrian accommodations in this area, the need for additional truck parking in this area. And so, I think it's important to see where the board's thought process is also, and the questions they ask about these types of plans and improvements. GWRC has done a couple of plans for us here recently that have been adopted. Bike and pedestrian plan for Basement Village was just adopted and included in the comp plan. This is another plan that we have working on potential TAP applications, the potential smart scale applications. And we've got a sheets going in on the corner of Luther Glen Road and 207. They're going to make some pedestrian accommodations there, their project. And so, you can see, when you start to see this globally, and that's part of it to see this presentation, is understanding that, this is part of the larger picture of trying to make transportation improvements to serve Carmel Church. So when we talk about the other end of Carmel Church, you see how it can all tie in. I think, hopefully not 20 years from now, but at some point in the future, we'd like to see pedestrian accommodations and sign diet and, aesthetic improvements all the way from Route 1, at least down to Luther Glen Road. So, I guess I just open this for your information so you can see it. The other thing I handed out to you tonight at your spot was Kyle Bates's April report to the board. I'll offer that to you as well so you can have an additional broader perspective on things that are going on in the county related to transportation. And an update on the project that we talked about, that you guys made an adjustment to the 6-year plan. The right turn lane at Devil's Three Jump Road is nearly complete. We've written by the end of the last couple of days. But
Great.
I think if there hadn't been a thunderstorm yesterday or the day before, that project may be complete.
Oh,
So those
great.
guys got out there and they went to work on, I think, Monday, and they were darn near finished yesterday. So
That's excellent.
they're getting very close to having that project done. So when school starts this year, I think the motorists will certainly appreciate that improvement there. That was through jump in 207. So you can see your efforts are being rewarded, and so it's as that you maintain that big picture perspective and understand that everything we do is a part of a piece of the puzzle.
Leon, on the Carmel Church presentation there, I was struck by the fact that they only counted vehicle trips per day heading north. You get to Carmel Church, it's maybe as much as a 60-40 split with vehicles going south. I think that they're missing a big part of the big picture. And I think they need to take another look at that. If you could pass that comment along, please.
Certainly. The other thing, when I was sitting over there, it just struck me. I did a drive time. I just Googled it, drive time from Carmel Church to downtown Richmond and Carmel Church to Fredericksburg. Anybody want to guess what the times were?
Half hour either
30
way.
minutes? Mm-hmm.
Either way, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes we lose perspective on how close we are
Yes.
to the capital city and the impact that it has on this region and this area.
And it's been changing over the last 5 or 10 years. There are a lot more people heading to Richmond now than there are north.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Caroline County is in the Richmond-Petersburg MSA. We are not, Caroline County is not in the Washington-Baltimore
Okay.
CMSA.
Yeah.
CB combined statistical area.
I mean, Just anecdotally, I've always made the case that Carolina should be in the Richmond PNC.
Right, right.
Northern Virginia PNC.
We are sort of in between.
Yeah. There's a lot of implications for a lot of different things. I
Yeah.
can tell you that truck traffic is, as we see additional potential developments occurring, we will only see an increase of. So, Mr. Vice Chair?
That was our new business.
Yep.
Anything else? Nothing else was on the agenda. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Gotta be quick around.
Yeah.
Great meeting. Wow.
You all.
Zip.